Okay, all over. Come on.
So we finally got tested in January of 2020, and found out that she was performing at 10% of her peers in Wake County, and the school system deemed that she did not need any help. But what I didn't know at the time of her being tested is she actually was having seizures all the while. So I'm 100% certain she was having seizures as early as 8 months old. But at the end of January, Akira started having more and more seizures that were visible. She would fall down and just have these one-sided seizures, and they were really quick. Again, it was too rapid to record, but 8-10 seconds, and it continued through January into February, and finally in March she started having very pronounced seizures to the point where she was mid-activity and she would suddenly be on the floor and you have no idea what happened. And because Akira is not very vocal, she wouldn't sort of break out in tears or tell you that she was upset or scared. She was just sort of paralyzed and frozen. That's her response to anything traumatic or scary. So this is now during COVID officially kicked in. Well, we can't get you an appointment until after Memorial Day. We're backed up because of COVID. I said, okay, well, just wait until we get an appointment. Well, Akira had a grand mal seizure on March 29th, and our entire lives changed. I was so scared when I watched that. She literally turned around, bent down to pick up her shoes because we're going to go for a walk with her brother. Turned back around, and she's on the floor, face planted, shaking. And I didn't know right away that it was a grand mal seizure, but I knew something was wrong. I mean, every part of her body was shaking, and her eyes were just stone cold straight, not blinking. Trying to talk to her, no response. And she sort of finally came back out of it. And I asked her, did she know what happened, or could she tell me what happened? And all she said was she fell down. So I immediately called the pediatrician and I said, we need an appointment like today. Something is really wrong. I was like, I don't know what to do. And it was a Sunday. And she said, well, the best that I could do is get you an appointment for Tuesday, and they're going to just squeeze you in between patients. So we went to see the neurologist, and she said according to her neurological testing, everything seemed fine, but that she would order a EEG and an MRI just to make sure that, she was right. And COVID again, can't do an EEG until June 25th. So I said, okay, well, what do I do if she has another seizure? They said, well, the best thing to do is just go to the emergency room and then we can figure it out from there. And her brother started screaming and crying, and I didn't know what happened. And they were in their playroom downstairs and realized, oh, she must have had a seizure. So she was trying to walk back upstairs so she could tell me, and she kept falling into the stairs, which is when I just ran downstairs and grabbed her. And at this point, I just decided we needed to go to the emergency room. So I called to make sure that it was safe for us to go because it was during COVID. And they said, well, only the patient and an adult can come and anybody else is not allowed. And Akira has a 3.5-year-old brother, Keyshawn. And so of course I panicked because I didn't know what to do. So I called some friends. They were not available. And Akira's physical therapist was very supportive and very involved and said, look, if there's anything that happens, just call me. I'm going to leave my phone on for you. If you need any help, call me. And so I was desperate. I would never call, but I just was like, I don't know who else to call. We just moved here. So I called and he said, got it. I'll see you there. Got to the emergency room. When we got there, of course, it took forever because we had to go through the COVID screening and a million questions. And when they triaged Akira, they were trying to ask her all these questions, and Akira was totally out of it. She couldn't even respond to me. So forget about responding to a stranger. And she was totally disoriented and didn't know what was going on to an extent. And she really just sort of stared at them, and they were like, well, she's not answering us. I said, she's been having seizures all day long and it's just getting worse. And, we need help. They were like, well, we can't do anything for you because we can't do EEG and or MRI. And I said, look, I need these things done immediately. Like, something is really wrong. And I said, at what point are you going to tell me it's okay to go home and that it's safe for me to take her home? There was a pediatric interventionist who just happened to be on call that day. And I had said I wanted to see the chief pediatric attending because my professional medical career as the patient, I knew that at least I could talk to somebody who could make a decision or call the right person to help us. So when he came in, he was like, I'm going to personally guarantee that you get seen, get an EEG done, and we figure out what to do. And so we agreed that she was safe enough to go home and that, they'd given me some protocols as to what would require us to return. And luckily the doctor did call on Monday. He was able to get us an appointment for that week on Thursday. So we went in for the EEG. Of course, she was really scared because she didn't know what to expect. And they said, okay, well, you're all done. I found out the next day at 9:20 with an urgent phone call saying her EEG is abnormal, irregular. You need to come in immediately, and we need to immediately get her on meds to get her stabilized. I was just really like, why do we have to give her all these really powerful drugs? And I understand we need to stop seizures, but this doesn't make sense. But they said they were pretty clear on this was really the only route that we had to go until we could do an MRI. And I said, please don't tell me MRIs aren't happening until next year or something crazy. I was like, we cannot wait. She's not safe, And they said, yeah, unfortunately, we're sorry. We're going to have to wait for a while before we could figure out when you could get seen. And we did, we had to wait probably about 7 weeks before we had an MRI. And, MRI would tell you if there were brain lesions, she had stuff like MS, if she had tumors, and thank God she had nothing. It came back clean with no lesions, no issues. So that was like a big, huge win in terms of this. But we still didn't know what was going on. Went back to the neurologist and they said, look, we want to do a blood panel for a genetics test. Just want to cover our bases since the MRI came back clean. We're still not clear what's going on and we need to get some more information. So we did blood draw. We had the results back in 3 days with an official diagnosis of myoclonic aesthetic epilepsy, which is also known as DEW syndrome. And also that she did have a gene mutation. And according to this group called Simon's Searchlight, they state that she's the only one currently who has this unique variant in this gene mutation. There are roughly 120 other children who have this across the world. So it's pretty devastating to find out, and we've had several hospital visits that have been pretty ugly and pretty traumatic, and that makes it really hard. And we also were hospitalized for 5 days to do what they call a spell characterization study to understand what's going on in her brain. And what we understand is she has 25 to 30 focal and absent seizures, which are seizures you can't see, but it looks like maybe the person's spacing out. So she has 25 to 30 of those a day, 24-hour period going on in the back of her brain, which is what causes her speech delays. And then she also has something called atonic seizures, which is where the muscles just seize, they stop working. And that happens, probably a dozen times a day. But the very sad part in all of this is there is no prognosis because the doctors don't know much about what she has. And the little that they do know is drugs could work, might work. And there's currently a lot of discussions about modified Atkins diet and a keto diet. But again, with what Akira has, she essentially has 2 forms of very rare epilepsies that we just don't know about. So it's not to say that it couldn't work, but they're not so sure that it will work either at the same time. So it makes it really hard, and her day-to-day living is really sort of, her perception is life is grand, but I also work really hard to make sure that it is, that she has a great day every day. But it's really spent waiting for that seizure, and nobody really knows what to tell me or how to help her, get through every day. I've decided that every day needs to be a good day for her. And as much as it takes, she deserves to have a good day every day. And it's really hard. It's hard because there isn't anybody to talk to. Everybody's so busy, like especially with COVID, and it's not even to say I don't have support. I do. I have like great support, great friends, great medical professionals, but everybody's busy. And now school's now virtual. Like folks are trying to figure out how to work, how to take care of kids. And then if they've got elderly parents, it's just been really hard. And then for me personally, I've had a lot of friends and a lot of family who actually have died of COVID early on in New York City. Haven't been able to deal with that. It's really hard. It's hard to not feel sad and devastated and heartbroken and feel like, is she ever going to be okay? She loves to dance, so we have lots of dance parties. She's currently into ballerinas, so she does a lot of beautiful ballet dancing. It's really nice. But she doesn't understand what she has, because part of it is she has seizures. She doesn't always recall that she's had a seizure. Trust your gut. Trust your instinct. If you feel like your child is not okay or something is off, you have to keep fighting. Go to your pediatrician. If not your pediatrician, try early intervention. If not early intervention, get on Facebook. There are loads of groups, 40, 50,000 parents across the country who will share whatever the issue is and how to troubleshoot finding somebody who could help. My mentors have put up a GoFundMe campaign really in concerns that, I'm a single parent, I've got 2 children, and while I'm working, I'm also battling a mounting pile of medical bills and, supports for Akira. So, of course, supporting us through GoFundMe would be great. You can find her campaign under Akira is Lovely. And we're actually really excited to be working with Michael and his company Vantage Point Media about telling Akira's story and working on Akiras Grace project. Don't give up. And, as depressing or difficult as it may be to watch or think about, just think about your child and how bad they feel. I mean, I'm just, after 5 years, understanding that Akira feels like a building is physically crashing upon her every time she has a seizure. Imagine that. I couldn't even imagine that, and I'm an adult. And for a child who's 5 to feel that every day, all day, I mean, I don't even know. Keep fighting and don't give up.
If you like what you're seeing and want to get involved, help us spread the word by subscribing to our channel and liking and sharing this video. Visit our website for more information.